Hey guys, Ken from Veteran Screen Printing. Today we're going to talk about screen meshes, what type of screen meshes you should use for certain jobs. First, we're going to roll that intro and get into it. Alright, today guys we're talking about screens and screen meshes and what you should use for each job. So in our shop we have 125, 130 mesh, we have 160 mesh, we have 200, and we have 250, and we have 305. Now depending on what you're printing is going to depend on what type of mesh you should be using. So say if you're using say a glitter where you're trying to lay down some glitter on a garment, that type of screen, I would probably go around a 30 mesh because it's going to be really hard to push through the screen and clear the screen and get it on your garment. And then a lot of questions get asked. Well, what should I use for, say, a white underbase? Well, the white underbase, depends on what you're printing. Sometimes I use a 160 on a white underbase. But like a couple days ago, we were printing on not the highest quality shirt, and I actually ran a 250 for my underbase because reason why is last time I actually did this order, I ran a 160. And it just laid down so much ink, and then it actually started going through the shirt because it's not the greatest quality shirt, right? And it started getting on my platen, and once it builds up enough on the platen, you can't not get it to be tacky again. And then the shirt will move and shift, and it's just all bad. And the reason why I use higher mesh sometimes for these underbases is that reason right there, is you don't want to lay down too many because when too much ink, because if you're going to print on top of it, after you flash it and you have so much ink on there, the ink buildup is actually gonna make the screen kind of sticky to that shirt, and then it's just gonna lift it up. When I use the 130 mesh, just say if I just have like a black shirt with white ink, I'm gonna use a 130 mesh so I can actually make it bold, bright, ready to go, right? The rule of thumb also is if you're going to do a white underbase, do your white underbase, right? And then if you have white in that design, do another screen just for that white highlight. They call it a highlight white, not an actual base. Don't use it for your base. So don't use, say, like 130 and then do some red and blue on top of that white, but then you had to hit that twice. So you don't want to hit it twice for a white underbase. You only want to hit it once. And that's just kind of like a blocker or a primer so you can actually see the right color. So if you put like a red on a black shirt, it's probably going to be like a dark maroon, burgundy red. It's not going to be a true red. So yeah, you want to do a one hit. And again, depending on what type of shirt, if I was running, say, some next level shirts, I'm probably only going to use a 160 mesh for my underbase. Hit it once and move on to the next one. But if I'm using, say, like a Gildan or something like that, I'm going to try to bring it up to at least a 200, maybe a 250, depending, because those shirts, the ink will just pass right through them very easily. And that's what I was having issues with last time. It just would build so much ink up on my platen. So it just depends on what type of screen job you're printing and what type of mesh. And now you're going to ask, hey, what do you use the 305 for? I actually use a 305 for my speedball acrylic ink when I'm actually printing my polymailers or customers' polymailers, right? So I'm not laying down so much ink on the polymailer. The ink still is going to go through it. It's still nice, bright, beautiful. But it actually helps it in the drying process because I lay them out on my tables and let them air dry. You can throw them through a conveyor dryer at around, say, like 150, maybe 125 degrees. So you can do it that way, but I just let them air dry. So I usually print my polymailers towards the end of the shift and leave them all over the tables. And time I come in the next morning, they're fully cured, fully dried. I can scratch them and nothing's gonna peel. So I just leave them air dry. And when I use, a 305 mesh, not a lot of ink's gonna go through it. but it still has that image perfectly on that poly mailer. I don't want it, the ink to be built up, an eighth of an inch on that poly mailer. I want to be able to, rub it, make it smooth, make it beautiful, make it nice. So those are the type of different jobs that you would want to use different meshes for. Again, my universal mesh count is actually a 160. I use a 160 almost on every job, unless I'm using really fine detail. I'll get up to 200s. And again, if you're using really fine detail, you want to use that higher mesh to hold that that detail in it. And that's, again, this is only on a manual. A lot of times on automatics, you're going to be using a 250, 225. And the reason why is a lot of times you're printing wet on wet. Well, majority of the time you're printing wet on wet. You only got one, maybe two flashes depending. So printing manual and printing with automatic is two totally different beasts. It's a lot different than printing on a manual than automatic. My last job it was a 4-color. I had my white underbase, then I went red, light blue, and then a dark blue, and all those 3 colors were wet on wet. Because my goal is to actually get an automatic here pretty soon. So that being said, is I'm starting to try to figure out how to maneuver my artwork properly to do wet on wet, because it is a different game, a different beast that you have to accomplish. Again, I'm still using my press that I don't even have micros on, so when I get that next press that has micros, probably going to be a game changer for me, because I'll tell you what, some of these jobs takes me a little bit longer than others, but I still can get them done. So if you guys have any other questions about what you should be doing with screen printing, I'll give you my honest feedback of what we do. We have customers all across the country. We print for the military, and we even print for our first responders. So if you guys need help, please let me know. If you guys need shirts, let me know that as well. We'd love to help you guys out. And if you have any questions, please comment below. We'll definitely try to answer them. If you haven't please like this video. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We are growing fast, and we're almost to 1,000 subscribers. So definitely helping us grow and share our content across the world. Like always, please be safe and have fun.